You hear me?
Yeah. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's up, Mr. Hunte? How's it going?
Man, it's great to see you, man. Is everything well with you, your family?
Yeah, it's, pretty hectic out here, but obviously, you know, my family's good, my peoples are good. I checked in with a lot of young people that I know from yesterday that were just out and about and all the drama and everything, and I was just making sure everybody's families are good, and you know what I mean? Just listening to people. I think that's something that a lot of people from the community don't do, and I think a lot of celebrities, you know, artists, they sometimes they mean well, but when you go to a community, you gotta listen, you gotta hear and say, yo, what do you need? You know, like if I went to Ferguson, you know, I went to Houston at the invite of Trader Truth. I went to Standing Rock at the invite of indigenous people. And when I showed up there, I didn't say, oh, this is what y'all gonna do. I asked, what do you need? Do you need me to be a taxi for people in Ferguson and help them go from here to there? Fine, no problem. Do you need me to do this and do supply runs at Standing Rock? No problem. You know, I think that is the true spirit of participating with people. You know, when you see somebody you feel like, okay, y'all destroying some shit that ain't got nothing to do with this, you got to pull back and have a targeted solution. Or if you see protesters and the police are practicing something called kettling, right? Kettling is an old, it's actually, it's related to a war tactic from the Vikings. They would give the center, right, Justin? They give the center, they allow people to come in, and they flank them from all sides. That's how they've been doing with a lot of the protesters. And a lot of protesters, the young kids, they got heart, they got determination, and they're the people who have been abused the most by the system. I'm gonna remind y'all of some really terrible shit. And this is just that it argues against the kind of race war we see the media trying to set up right now. When I was a kid, right, I was born in 1978. So I'm 42 years old. When I was a kid, the NYPD was abusive, racist, violent towards us, and it was mostly white officers. And now we have a police force that has a lot more black and brown officers, but they still violent, they still ruthless, they still push people around, they still fuck people up and get away with things. You know, and I feel like the community is culminating all of these things that have happened, you know, from immigrant baby getting run over by the sister of an NYPD sergeant and them threatening her immigration status, right? From a mother in Washington Heights getting killed by a drunk driver 7 years ago, and they killed her and her 3 out of her 4 children. And the police officer was an off-duty cop, and he got 1 year. See, this is why the community, all these things that are coming up, it's not just George Floyd. So when people say, oh, they're not honoring George Floyd, you're right. It's not just about him. It's about all the other hundreds of people that have had things happen to them. Like I explained to people, I've been in situations where the police put a gun to my head for nothing. Nothing. Literally, like I'm walking down the street, I'm going to Twin Donut to get food. And it breaks my mom and dad's heart when I got to tell them this stuff. Like I explained to people, yo, any father who's got a daughter out there, you think she gonna go home and tell you every single time some nigga say some disgusting shit to her in the street? No, but that's hard. Imagine that. Every man who got a little girl, someone has said something disgusting to her and she don't want to tell you because she's afraid. And I don't want to compare myself in any way, shape, or form to the struggle of a woman. The only thing I'm gonna say is that as Latino and Black men, we don't often go to mommy and daddy, right? Excuse me. It just paused for a second. We don't often go to mommy and daddy and tell them, hey, mom, dad, I was harassed by cops today. We get out of that when we like 14, 15. When that happened to me when I was 13, they beat a kid in my neighborhood up who just ran away. Like we were throwing water balloons and playing in the park, and they beat a kid down. I remember his name's Carlos. They cracked him in the head with a nightstick. And like I told my pops, and he was concerned when I was 13, 14. But once, you know, you like 18, 19, and they pull a gun, I'm gonna go tell my folks that every night. Every night, I'm gonna tell them, hey, mom, guess what happened to me tonight? Like, I'll give my parents a heart attack if I told them all the shit that done happened to me. So I think a lot of people run around with a lot of internalized pain, suffering, and I'm nothing compared to somebody who's actually been shot for, you know what I mean, or beaten within an inch of their life, or lost their job, or been falsely arrested and accused. And we forget, if the police arrest you, man, you gotta make bail. You gotta make $10,000 to get the fuck out of there. Then you gotta fight a crooked case. So more often than not, they use that economic pressure to get people to cop out. I just feel like a lot of the youth needs to understand that the blame don't lie with the police solely. They are the front line. They are the pawns in the chess game, right? You got to talk about the district attorneys. You got to talk about the people that are in charge. And in many of these places, you can't just blame, for example, racist Republicans. Sure, you could put them in their place for the shit that they've done and the kind of tone-deaf attitude that they have to racism. But in a lot of these places, we have to understand these are Democratic mayors, Democratic governors who have taken Black and Latino people for granted for years. So the criticisms of them, both those criticisms can be right at the same time. We forget that America was founded by like settler colonialism. You know, we talk about what's the Black agenda, the Latino agenda. You know what the white agenda was, Justin? To build a colony here that would take over the whole continent. They thought that apartheid was just going to be born here and spread everywhere else. And you know what? Thank God for Black people. They fucked that up for you, America. Yeah, that's right. They fucked it. Black people fucked that up for you, America. You thought you were going to have big settler colony, take over everything. And Black people were like, you can't win the Civil War without us. You can't get over without us. You can't build America without us. And then they said, well, look at these Native Americans. Look what they suffered. And one of the interesting things I say, the correlation is when people talk about peace between Black and Latins, there's a big problem, I know in LA more than there is here. And I explain, you can't have peace with Latins. Latins are the people who stole us and abused us and abused you. Our culture, to say our Latin culture is like saying that Black people have white culture. No, Black people have the Black culture inside of white society. Indigenous people have indigenous culture inside of white Latino society. So we can create an alliance of indigenous and African people. And you can go and see the Seminoles, the Gulagichi tribe. People have to do the knowledge on that, right? Also remember that this country and the way it's structured, Black and Latino children have been lied to from the very beginning about that. You know, a lot of the principles that set up the Constitution and for example, the structure of the 13 colonies was copied from the Iroquois Confederacy. Like I've been talking about that this whole week. You know, that shit lit a fire under me. We got to know where we come from. We got to know that freedom is sometimes purposefully disfigured. So we act like we're not willing, like we're not the participants in that. You know, like Crispus Attucks wasn't the first motherfucker to get shot for America. You know, when we see pirate movies, you know what's crazy, Justin? It's another gem from early American history. When we see pirate movies, we see a lot of disaffected white people that are out there. That's a half truth. A lot of pirates came from these runaway slave plantations. When a pirate said, let's find the people that are willing to fight the most hardest, that don't want to go back to the life they had. People that will never surrender, right? Who's never going to surrender, Justin? Someone who knows what it's like to go back to a slave plantation and watch your mother get raped in front of you. Like that's who the fuck was on these ships. A lot of them. And this is what I think people need to understand. We're having a total revamping of history now. You know, the neoliberal and neoconservative lie that indigenous people just got sick is now exposed. No, you purposefully killed people. You used germ warfare to clear out areas of indigenous people so you could build your white settler colonialism, right? People were so mad at Rudy Gobert for touching a fucking mic. Mad at an NBA for just touching a mic. Imagine if Rudy Gobert blew his fucking nose in some shit and gave it to a group of poor people and we're like, here's a blanket for you to just sleep into. Coronavirus, right? Ha ha ha. But that's exactly what was going on. And then you have to have a conversation about 500 years of history. And once you get through that, then you can fundamentally change the way that white people think about their societies because they'll realize how long they have been oppressed, how long their own government has been using them as serfs and them as slaves, right? They were the first slaves. Before Europeans had the power to take any African from Africa, the first slaves were Eastern European people, right? That's where the word slave comes from, Slav. And these people were stolen. So we have to realize how much more people out here in these streets have in common, right? For every George Floyd, you'll find a Daniel Shavers, right? I want people to go look him up. Daniel Shavers is a regular white dude that was in a hotel room. And this motherfucker was murdered with a machine gun. So when I tell you, there's an article in Politico that I think people should read that expands the base of knowledge. It's called What I Did When the Police Murdered My Son. And it's about a white man who was a colonel in the U.S. Army, whose son had mental health issues, and the police shot him twice in the head. The first time, Justin, they had a misfire. And the second time, he cocked the gun back and blew the kid's head off. And the article is about the white man's interaction with the black community that has been suffering through this the whole time. And he said that at the end, the old black man walked up to him and said, man, if they'll do this to you, a person who did everything right for America, right, Justin? You served in the military, you believed in good government, man, you became an officer in the army for this country, went across seas in the fort, and yet still, it took them 2 hours, less than 2 hours to absolved themselves of the murder of this man's son. And he said, and I'm a well-to-do white guy. Imagine what is going on with these people. Like, imagine what's going on with my next door neighbors. These people that I've been taught to ignore. These people whose pain I can't see because they don't resemble me, right? That's the problem with that old fake-ass line about people who don't see race, right? That's just the parrot talk. That's a dog whistle, right? You saying that you don't want to see it. But the truth is that, and a lot of times we find in our society that teachers who see children that are a different race than them don't identify with them as the same as them, right? They're like, oh man, this could be my kid. No, they couldn't be your kid because he don't look like you. Therefore, you don't care about his future. So when one kid acts out, it's not so much that people are like actively acting like the KKK, but a lot of times you find there's people that have a racist lifeguard syndrome. And what do I mean by racist lifeguard syndrome? Imagine a pool, Justin, right? Where on one side there's a bunch of black kids that are jumping in the pool, doing shit they're not supposed to do, running around the pool, hopping in, ha, ha, ha. And on the other side, there are a bunch of white kids in the pool, sniffing coke, pissing in the pool, doing shit they're not supposed to do too. And the lifeguard comes and yells at the black kids and kicks them out, right? And calls the police on them, but tells the white kids, you got to stop doing that, right? So when these people, you see the racist media is totally at fault for this too. The mainstream media has to carry the brunt of this, which is why I've chose to share my platform with, independent sources today, because we have to pressure people to challenge those narratives and say, look, when you have a situation in which we believe that one people deserve the brutal foot of the justice system and other people are just boys being boys and they need a positive encouragement. We want you to have that across the board for everybody, right? But that's not what happens in our society. You think that some of us need this iron fist of correction, right? And everybody else just needs to be ushered and coddled, and that's why we end up with the difference in how police act and treat people. Also, it's part because these people understand that America's legacy is attacking unarmed countries, right? They went to Iraq and they said, you got weapons of mass destruction, right? And they said, no, we don't. We used up all the shit that Britain and you sold us so we could attack the Kurds and the Persians, right? And they went to North Korea and played that shit. What did the Koreans say? Yeah, we got about 8 of them. And we got a big homie. What the fuck you gonna do? So I'm not saying that, look, a lot of people took the wrong attitude about the white protesters with the guns. I don't want the police to shoot those people. I want the police to treat young black and brown people who are angry with the same patience and temerity that they treat a white man waving a semi-automatic weapon, because an AR-15 is not a machine gun. You're not gonna pull that gun shit with me. I want them to have the same amount of patience that they have for someone like that who's screaming in their face during a pandemic with no mask and holding and holstering a semi-automatic weapon. If you got patience for them, you got patience for a little black kid. If you don't feel like a sucker because an old white man spit in your face during a pandemic, then you can't feel like a sucker. You don't feel like a cuck because a little black kid expressed his anger, right? I met cops that aren't wicked people, and their perspective is different because they'll tell me, man, the crazy shit. I remember one when I was a kid. He said to me, as long as you can remember that most of the people you're dealing with have mental issues, I don't take anything personally that people do. Like you got to realize in our society, what do we do with people that are quote unquote crazy or have mental illness that are rich? We give them medicine. We give them years of therapy. We help them. People who are poor, mostly from Black and Latino communities, that have dissociative personality, that are people who have been abused. Like most of the kids I remember in New York that would fight you because you was looking at them in the street. A lot of them were autistic and they just been abused their whole life in the hood. And they learned, oh man, the only way I get respect or get anything is to fight other people. And I knew kids and they were super smart. They had like Asperger's syndrome, but they'd be in the hood like, nah, don't look at me. Don't come near me. Because anything that was like physical confrontation reminded them of the abuse that they were getting as kids. So it's like these things go undiagnosed, and what is their solution for us? Throw us in a trash can, throw them in the garbage. He's a disposable human being, but you have a different attitude with other people, right? The pandemic for drugs, right? We had another pandemic. It was called the crack era, right? It was treated like a criminal justice issue when it was a Black and Latino community. And then when it's the white community, all of a sudden it's an opioid epidemic and we need to save them. Before it was, no, we need to cage them. And now we see exactly why. You go to Lenox Hill Mall and you see that they've been putting our kids in cages and they've been putting guns in their kids' hands. because the dogs from Animal Farm are almost mature.
What's it like on the ground in New York? I know you've been out there this week.
Oh man, a lot of people nervous. One thing I'm gonna remind people: half the businesses that you're gonna see that are closed are not because of riots. They're because of the economic failure of what's going on. And when people are out in the streets, the one underreported thing is that niggas stole every single fucking piece of food out that Target before it went up. Okay, they show people with TVs. That's convenient. How about you show people that can't eat? Right? Wow. Show me the people that can't that have no food. Right? You're right. If an Antifa guy, right, went to a MAGA rally and pulled out a bow and arrow and shot at the MAGA people, right? What would I think? I wouldn't think he was brave. I would think, what the fuck, my nigga, you crazy. Why would you go around with these people, take a bow and arrow and shoot them and get swarmed? So I'm supposed to have sympathy for the opposite version of that, a random MAGA dude that run into a group of people who aren't Antifa, but just random angry kids, and you go pull a bow and arrow and shoot at them. Listen, be smart. You know, if you don't agree with the protest, you're not brave for running into a group of 50 people with a sword, right? You have a mental illness. That's what you're doing. You're hurting yourself. Now, if you want to be a martyr for your right-wing movement, there are a lot better things to do, right? Instead of harassing pregnant women, why don't you donate to a pregnant mother so she won't have an abortion, right? That saves way more kids. That saves way more kids than you harassing women outside an abortion clinic. But you won't do that, right? Because that you don't want to win the game that way. You want to win the game the way you want to win it, how you want to win it, by your rules. That's not how life works, bitch. That's why things are still fucked up the way they are in this country. Because people still haven't accepted the shit that they've done and the legacy that they've left behind. And on the ground, people are nervous. They're scared. The moms and dads are scared. They don't want their kids to go outside. You know, they're scared because they think the police is going to have retribution. In the Bronx, I'll report this is 100% true. They tracked down protesters through the phones and they made arrests at home. They will come find you in your home. That's why they tell people turn your phone off. They turn it to airplane mode. Especially if you got one of these Apple joints, turn it to airplane mode. A lot of these companies, they're cooperating with authorities. They're sharing pictures. They're sharing the inside. You know, that's why people airdrop stuff more than anything else. They don't want a record for cell phone interactions, which is crazy, Justin. Like these kids, man, they don't got nothing to eat. A lot of the families, they don't have no bailout. That $1,200 that was gone 2 months ago, fam. Now what they got, right? Whose rent in New York is $600?
Nobody.
Whose rent in New York, right? For 2 months, Justin.
I did.
2 months, and niggas been out of work. Whose rent is Whose rent in New York? For real. And anybody watching this, I know niggas love to comment, be in the comment section all the time. Whose rent is $600? Shut the fuck up. You know, these people have nothing. Now, they're going to ask me about, oh my God, do you condone this? Do you condone that? Let's remember how this shit started, right? Let's not lose that perspective. It started because they murdered a man in broad daylight. And I'm tired of people having to be the perfect candidate to get murdered. Stop that. Stop that. Don't be highlighting the weed that somebody smoked in 10th grade, right? I don't care who this dude fucked. That's not the point. Stop that. That's disgusting. You know, would you ever, Justin, you ever heard somebody say, you know, not all the people that Hitler killed in the Holocaust were bad people? I'm sure that some of them did something wrong. Why would they never say that, Justin? Why would they never do that? Why would they never take that type of energy, but they'll say, oh, Native Americans were all savages, or black people in Africa had no religion and they were cannibals and white people civilized? Why would you do that? Why would you take some small, tiny example of some offshoot tribe and then use that to paint us all by that? Is it because you're using for an excuse for colonization? So don't tell me I'm spreading division. No, I'm spreading facts. You niggas are spreading division because you can't accept the fucking truth. And that's why Anonymous had to blow you niggas up today. Because everybody that was on the outside was lighting a fire under your ass. And they got tired of it, right? They got tired of the fall of the nons propping up that fake psyop Q. And they were like, nah, you know, we gotta regulate this. You've been leaning too far to the right. And we talked about this before on another podcast. This is part of the 9/11 effect, Justin. This is part of the 9/11 effect. The 9/11 effect, for people who don't understand, is after 9/11, all politics moved to the right? So the centrists, right? The centrists, the people, oh my God, they're in the middle. Those are the Democrats, right? The center-right people. Democrats move center-right. Then the people who are on the far left, the left, they became the far left. And the far right, those people that never had a fucking voice, ever, they were moved into the mainstream of the media, right? And they did everything they could through manufacturing consent, from block profiles online, trying to make kids feel stupid, right? So I even know Latino kids that were ashamed or afraid to post something about the kids in cages because they said, oh, I've got pages hitting me up telling me it's all fake. Really? So that wasn't true? Okay, so is the Epstein logs fake? Are they fake? Did Trump not pay off six victims for $11 million? So who's lying? If all those things are true, Justin, then how is it fake, right? Both sides are corrupt. Why did you only highlight one side, Q? Why were you doing that? Is it because you're a fucking PSYOP? You're a CIA agent? My dude, that's what we're dealing with. Now, well, you want to talk about George Soros and all that. Fine, we can have that conversation. I think that he's definitely trying to co-opt the movement, but you know what he is? He's no different than Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox and has an agenda too. He wants to push things to the right? He wants his agenda served. We have to address these people in station for what they do. They're propagandists. They want an agenda. And let's not forget the anti-blackness on a lot of Latino channels. Now, I'm sorry that more Latino people and more indigenous people have not come on this channel to talk about this, but we need to talk about this now. We need to confront this in the Latino community. It is absolutely disgusting. And it is the only way these people got America, by dividing indigenous and black people. And it is absolutely disgusting for me to see these live racist caricatures, which belong in nowhere, but which were more in tune with the 40s and 50s style thinking than what we're supposed to be in now. And then when you look at the people that own Univision and all that, you got a guy like Henry Saban, a giant Clinton supporter, a huge neoliberal, who said the only reason I'm in media is to benefit Israel. Then why do you own a Spanish language channel? We know what you're doing. You're building up support everywhere else. You know, conservatives and fake progressives, fake neoliberals in America, they don't just function here, right? They're all over Latin America. Now they're all over Africa. Same as the Chinese, right? So when the Clinton firm wanted to foment an overthrow of Honduras, that's what they got, right? When anybody else was out there, and the right-wingers during a pandemic tried to overthrow Venezuela, right, with a Green Beret and 200 freak shows turned into, you know, the Diet Coke Bay of Pigs about 2 months ago, but it was underreported because under Corona. The two of them are doing the same things. Can I say one last thing on this subject?
Yeah. You
remember Sarah Palin?
Of course.
She was a person that people thought was unqualified, and she was a dummy, and everyone was laughing at her. I got some sad news for the people out there. Do you remember there's a famous interview, and now that interview on YouTube is going to get a lot of comments because we're going to drive people there. And she said in the interview, she was asked by a reporter, do you support the Bush Doctrine? And she did not know what the Bush Doctrine was, right? And he is like, was surprised. It wasn't a gotcha question. Every conservative rank and file should have known what the Bush Doctrine was, right? But while liberals were laughing at that stupid lady, right, at that hack, they didn't realize that their own president was continuing the Bush Doctrine. And what was the Bush Doctrine? To knock over countries that did not have the hegemonic interest of the United States there. Yeah. So both sides can absolutely be wrong. And you can focus on who's in charge and be angry and want to change that, right? I'm sorry, I'm not a religious zealot. So therefore, I don't see Donald Trump as a golden calf who's just going to help everything. Okay, the right wing has moved too close to combining religion and politics. The left has been controlled by neoliberal shills who are still raping the planet and who still care nothing about the agenda of black and brown people, which is why for a long time, I know people that were activists, that were actual real people who worked within one respective party or another because it thought it brought them some kind of forward movement within the community. It gained them power and access to resources. And that's the bottom line, Justin. That's the one thing that Americans have to realize. This is the thing that capitalists and communists agree about. A person who makes $300,000 and a person who makes $30,000 are both working class people because neither one of them controls the means of production. Neither one of them controls the resources. In other words, the people who are making $300,000 who are being told, oh, I'm upper middle class. I'm not like these dregs of society who work for 10 hours a day and ride this up. Okay, where was their job after pandemic? Right, Justin? Now they own a $400,000 home they can't make payments on. Now they got a $80,000 car you can't make payments on. You niggas worth negative $600,000. What are you gonna do digging into your savings right now? I know your parents probably looking over your shoulder listening to me like, damn, this little motherfucker with the beret is right. Yeah, you a wage slave, just like them $30,000 people. But you thought you were better because you could buy nice, shiny fucking things.
Does this feel like a tipping point to you? I mean, and as I look at it in this context, I 100% agree with you on there's so many factors at play, but there's also when I see these Zoomers, these kids, and maybe this speaks to COINTELPRO, which I do want to ask you about. That's one thing that you were talking about online yesterday that was powerful for me. But when I see these kids, go up in a police station, when I see these kids take their skateboards to the police station right after George Floyd, it feels different to me than a lot of the protests that we've seen this century, in the sense that there was loose change, there was 9/11 inside job, then there was Obama, we got hope, we started chilling, so then we started doing like Occupy Wall Street type protests here.
I realized that it was some neoliberal shit and that he wasn't helping poor people.
Right.
Like,
so
he used the federal justice system to not prosecute cops sometimes. So it's sad, but those things need to be pulled out too.
Yeah. One question that's been on a lot of people's mind is what to do next. And, you've been great at organizing people all over the world. It hit me when you launched your hospital in Afghanistan, over 10 years ago. What do you suggest for people to do from this point forward to spark the change that so many want to see?
If you're going to wild out like that, y'all better do some Robin Hood, Little John shit. That's what I'm going to tell the kids. There are a lot of elders, a lot of families, a lot of little babies, right? I'm going to tell the young people, the young niggas that's wilding out right now, remember something. There's little, like 7, 8-year-old kids, right? And they look up to you like a god. Right? I'm not cool to them. I was born in 1978. My nigga, that shit might as well be 1878 to them little kids. They're like, who the fuck is this old nigga? But they'll look at you and they'll say, man, he's cool. Like he's down. He's out here doing this shit. Show them an example of a real man. Don't use the any type of situation in the street to touch a woman, right? Take some shit like that. Don't do no fuck shit, right? Give those resources that you're getting. Man, don't just take some flat screen back to your fucking house. If y'all gonna take something from that shit, give it to a starving family. There's people that's been out of work for a month. There's I started doing some shit where we do food drop for Take Back the Bronx. We feed 150 families. 150 families a week, that's not a small number. I gotta load this whole car, right? My little SUV full to the fucking brim with supplies that I happen to get because someone used their power to pass as white to go in and find something and find a little way in for niggas, right? Found a Dominican girl that's wild light skinned, and I was like, yo, go in there, pretend to be white, hit the card, we'll go in there. So we buy discount groceries, and I can't go to a regular grocery store no more, Justin, because I realized, man, that bread don't cost that. I go to the wholesaler now, and I get shit for the people, because that's what they need, man, right? That's what they need right now. So do what the people need. Be what the community need, right? There's certain places where that have been Black-owned businesses that have supported the community. Help those out, right? Make sure that there's something left in your area, right? Make sure that there are places that you do want to protect. And also, don't travel alone. Because these people are, like I said, there's retribution going on out here. And the police are a gang. So don't forget, if you fuck one of them up, they're going to take pictures, they're going to find you, and they're going to fuck you up. Like, I come from the 80s and 90s era where these people would roll up and the cops would shoot the 5 with you. I come from another era where they would come to the hood and be like, nah, you disrespected this officer. We need 5 minutes in an elevator. Like, that's unheard of now because people be like, but then again, think about how schoolyards were 20 years ago. If I'm in a schoolyard 20 years ago and I break a kid's nose, we're not going to the cops. They calling the principal. I'm going to call my mom. I'm going to have to pay some medical bills. Ain't nobody getting locked up. Now you scream at a teacher and they call police. It's crazy. So it was a different era. The police would just be like so much more physical with you, anything. And also, I put this on Twitter, but it's the God's honest truth. I can't believe a police show where they don't use the N-word, because I learned every racial slur that I know for Latino people, for Asians, for Black people, everything I learned from listening to fat Italian cops that were patrolling New York, and the shit that came out their mouth. Like listen, these people, they called me a Spanish nigger. Like I was like, what? Like with a hard ER, and I was like, I'm not from Spain, and like shit like that. I would just be like, what the fuck? All these things, you know what I mean? Like a bilingual porch monkey. All these, I was just like, why? What is the hatred for us, right? And then when you start to look at them, right, you realize why they're so guilty of being racist and hating it and hating immigrants. Because you see a lot of Italian people, they were called WAPs when they first came here. You know what WAP means? It means without papers. Italians were the first illegal immigrants, or not some of the first that came here in that sense and were treated as illegal immigrants. And if you want to see it further, you know, let's blow up some more YouTube clips. Go to that Godfather clip when he talks to Senator Pat Geary in The Godfather 2. And that guy says, I don't like you and your people. You come here to this good, clean country with your swarthy skin and oily hair and try to pass yourselves off as decent Americans. That's how they felt about y'all. And they a lot of the people, they become class traitors, right? Because you was with them the whole time. And now you're in a position where you say, oh, throw these people out, even though they're keeping the country together. Like during the pandemic, who was the only reason that you had carrots, celery, oranges, bananas, apples, onions? These are picked by undocumented people. The same people y'all hate. The same people whose kids y'all want to put in cages because they won't follow the law, but you think you're a rebel because you're not wearing a mask. You a hypocrite, my nigga. And they trained you to be a bitch. They trained you to be a bitch so that you get on an anonymous profile and you say, oh, no, these children just follow the law. Their parents shouldn't have put them in harm's way. But then a person who's wearing a mask, who's not wearing a mask, that's tyranny. So inconvenience is oppression. But actual oppression becomes what? Oh, Obama did it? So because a fraud did something, that makes it okay for another nigga to do something? What's wrong with y'all? This is the sewage of non-intellectualism that people are wading around in. And for years, I guess people gave a pass to neoliberals. We never did during the Obama era. You remember? And right. I started getting love from a lot of channels except y'all or hip hop and a few other people because they were like, oh, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. I'm like, well, this is what's going on, man. What's wrong with you? Why do you think I got to go out to Afghanistan in 2009 during the Obama administration? And when people say, oh, my God, imagine what they would have done to President Obama if he did what President Trump did. That's true. But can we play the reverse? Because hard truths cut both ways. What if Mr. Trump did what Mr. Obama did, right? What if he sent 40,000 more troops, mercenaries, right? Not regular troops, mercenaries to Iraq and Afghanistan. What if he knocked over Libya and turned it into a slave market, right? What would they say about him? Come on, man. You got to give these people their fucking due too. And that was the big problem with the movement. That's what I saw on the ground, Justin. You asked me about the ground. After 9/11, after the Bush administration, that shit broke my heart because a lot of those pro-war movements, right? After Obama was elected, they went away. Like the war was over. And the war never ended, man. I saw these black, white, and I saw a black, white, and a Mexican kid on top of CNN. And they said, we're not trying to, and there was a sign there. And he said, we're not trying to start a race war. We're trying to end one. And I think that's what people don't understand. We're trying to end, people who really want to work in the community, there's been a race war going on since the founding of this country, right? The Romans said it best. Politics is a means of war by another means. It's just war by another means. So with Jim Crow, that was war on black people in the South, right? Who could tell me it wasn't? Who could tell me that the burning of Tulsa, Oklahoma, that the destruction of Black Wall Street? No, you niggas can't be rich. You can't have a fucking piano in your house because you're a black man. How dare you be more educated than me? How dare you have something more than me? We've been at war since then. The closing of reservations, the clamping down on people. And you think what? And it all evens out because you gave a nigga a fucking casino? Come on, man. Let me rape and kill your fucking mother, right? And then I'll give you a stimulus check. Does that make you feel better? No. And poor white people have been used as cannon fodder for every fucking war this country ever had. And just after Vietnam, white people stood up. Real shit. Working class white people. I know you watching this shit, man. Kent State, man. That was the tipping point. And none of them niggas went to jail. They killed 7 of your kids. None of them niggas went to jail. But that was the tipping point. I don't know if this is going to be a tipping point similar to that, because that was when the draft was canceled, Justin. That was huge about this country. We had a mandatory draft, and Vietnam ended that shit. That was it. Niggas like, no, if you send us to war again, if you make us fight for you, we will overthrow this shit. Remember, that's a lot of what the 60s and 70s was about, too. People forget that. It was a big fight against the draft. God bless Muhammad Ali was our Spartacus, nigga. Think about that. Imagine if Floyd Mayweather, top of his shit right now, was like, nah, fuck this. I'm rocking with the protesters. I'll fuck Gucci. I'll take all my shit off. That was the impact that Spartacus had in the Roman era. That was the impact Muhammad Ali had. That's why I always thought he was the greatest, man. That's why I always looked up to him as a little kid. Muhammad Ali, oh my God. He was our Spartacus, man. In the middle of everything, at the top of it, the top of heavyweight, the most prestigious shit you could fucking have. He had the belt. And he said, I'll give it all away because this is wrong. You sending poor black people to kill Asian people for nothing. Oh, by the way, white people, y'all getting fucked over too, he said. You sending these little white kids to fight who? For what? What y'all doing out there? What's the mission? To drive back and forth in the jungle till someone shoots at you? What are you doing? I think it is a tipping point. I think people are fed up and they want some kind of real substance to change. And I know that I just got loud and aggressive and boisterous, but that's just me speaking for what I see on the street. You know, like I've seen people get brutally beat down this week, and I've seen peaceful people that were wilding out and nothing happened to them. Right? That's how the hood works. Right? It's wilding out, nothing happened to them, and I see people protesting quietly, peacefully. I seen a young couple, black couple, Morehouse student in Atlanta, yanked out their car, sprayed in the face. For what? They didn't do nothing. There's no proof that they had anything to do with this. And also, we're a pandemic too, right? We forgot about that. All of a sudden, Corona.
I mean, see, that's the thing that makes me feel like it's a bit of a tipping. Well, it is a tipping point because you take 40 million people. They no longer have work. You have no resources
for
them.
You can count. That's only the ones you can count.
Right.
40 million. That's the niggas that. That's the niggas you can count. What about another 10 million people out there you can't count?
Right. You know, and then you take, you know, disproportionately affecting black and brown people across the world. I mean, if you look at any country that has black people or people of African descent or indigenous people with more melanin, they have the highest death rates. Not attraction rates, but they have the highest death rates. And there's all these studies saying it's vitamin D or whatever, right? But you take that, you have now 100,000 people, mostly black and brown, who are also dying. And then you toss in the Molotov cocktail of being able to watch other instances of injustice happen on screen. And I'm looking outside, I see Zoomers. These aren't millennials. This is the generation behind us. Like, these are the people who, like, we had at least a chance. Like, we got a chance to join the workforce. Like, just as we got mad, we got Obama, we had hope. Hope made us lazy. These kids had Ferguson, school shootings, Trump, and global warming issues. They're organized, mobilized, and no one has ever listened to them. I see these guys on the street.
I think the kids pointed out something to me. I think that a lot of other people did. A lot of the older activists were also on board with it. But the kids and the older activists agreed on this point, that just like you said, the time that Obama got in was very deceptive for people, because it was like a woodcutter walking into the forest and the trees were saying, oh no, don't be worried, the handle is one of us. Right. But the axe is made out of metal and they coming to chop you down. Like, they don't care about that. And you think, listen, representation is great, but representation without power and without doing anything for the community means absolutely nothing. That means you're simply a figurehead for a neoliberal organization, right? That's been the problem. And I get it. People had nothing and they saw that as very symbolic. I remember, I'm from Harlem, son. Everybody was dancing. They were dancing in the streets when Obama was elected, only because they thought it was a change. But I feel like America was such a tipping point then, during post 9/11 era. They were like protesting against war again and again. I feel like they thought they wanted McCain to be president, but they were like, hey man, you're gonna have to take this L, right? You're gonna have to, because we're gonna need somebody that makes the community calm down and get relaxed and realize that we're the basic workforce for everything that runs the country, right? All the essential workers. I'm gonna be real with you. I can't say 100% because I don't trust hospitals now, and these niggas might have my name on the list. But I got super sick with some shit in January. Like, this shit hit me like the chicken. Like, I tell niggas all the time, I haven't been this sick since the chicken pox. Like, to the point where I was in my house, right? And I was sitting there, and I'm like in my shower on the floor with water coming on me. I feel like shit. I'm coughing so much that my stomach is like tightened up, and I look like I got a six-pack, which hasn't been there for several years. So I'm like, what the fuck? Diarrhea, cold sweats at night. I'm like, what? So I call the doctor. Mind you, this is like day after New Year's. So I'm like, Doc, I'm super sick. I need help. And he sends me, like, I have the benefit. Listen to all the privileges I have. I have a doctor I can call on the phone. The big thing about a lot of people getting sick with corona is at first people did not know what they had. So they try to power through it. Listen to the advantages that I had, people. I've been a successful independent artist for years. I haven't had a 9-to-5 in 15, 16 years, dude, okay? So I had the ability to quarantine myself in my own home. I had medical attention. I could order shit from the pharmacy, and I had 5-6 days of aloneness. I didn't have to go to work. I didn't have to do nothing. I literally just slept for 10 hours a day in my crib. And what did I do? There was no malaria medicine, none of this shit. I boosted my immune system. My sister has a master's in medicine. She goes, blast your immune system with every fucking thing you have. Fucking vitamin C tablets, drops. But remember, vitamin C will go through your body in a day. You can only hurt certain amounts of it. Vitamin D, vitamin E. Give your immune system the boost that it needs. And guess what, Jason? In fucking 6-7 days, I start feeling strong again. 8 days, I feel great. 9 days, I feel like I wasn't even sick. 10 days later, I'm like, yo, man, I feel strong. What the fuck, man? I'm out here, and I had this on. People ask, well, what's this for? It's so I won't get you sick in case I got some shit. That's what people don't understand. That's what people didn't get about it. It's not that the coronavirus is fake. It's just that it affected a lot of people differently than others. Like, if you're a white working class, block profile, bitch ass nigga, and you can take some time off and you got a family that's going to take care of you, sure, then it's not dangerous for you. But if you an immigrant and you can't go to this, even though you're making food for all the block profile, bitch ass niggas, yo, that's what I'm saying. If you're out there, then you don't have the luxury of that. You got to power through your cold. You know, newsflash for the people and the young motherfuckers that don't have a job, or rich people that don't really work. When poor people get sick, they power through their sickness to go to work. And I'm sorry, bro. Now, you could say whatever you want about anything, but you can't power through coronavirus, bro. If that shit hits you, you gotta take it. You gotta take this minute to chill, right? You gotta take a breather, right? Otherwise, you try to push through it, you might end up on a fucking ventilator. Now, there are many more things that will kill you quicker than corona, which is why I always felt like, even though it was a danger, we didn't specify who it was a danger to. It was more dangerous to low-income communities. It was more dangerous to people who have more access to other people, but nobody cared, right? Oh, it's not dangerous to me, so it's not dangerous. Also, you're now passing out smallpox blanks again because you got a fucking immunity to it. Stop that, man. That's the thing. Sure, the government did use it. And we can see that now, right? Because it's gone from the media. No more talk about COVID. I went to the store. They didn't even have a fucking shield there no more. That nigga don't care. And the KN95 is bullshit. Let me just tell you, go look it up on Google. I'm not lying, and I'm not trying to be a dick right now because I do practice social distancing because, like I said, I got sick. I don't want to get nobody sick. I be around this shit all the time. Even though 2 weeks later, I'm around my parents, everybody, I would have got them sick first because we didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what coronavirus was until the end of February, right? So if I'm sick in early January, and thank God my folks was visiting grandma in LA. Otherwise, they probably would have tried to take care of me. And I had people call me up. I know one of the homies, nigga's a doctor. I know my homegirl, she's a nurse. Oh, let me come take care of you. No, don't come here. I'm good. Let me just sleep this one out. Thank God, right? Because if I went home to mommy and daddy's house, they couldn't have taken this. I tell you right now, whatever the fuck it was that I got hit with, it may not have been corona. It may have been the flu, Justin. But I know my grandma could not have taken that. I sat down and Man, I was sitting on the toilet for fucking 12 hours, my nigga. I was sitting on there. I was drinking and eating on the toilet. I had a hoagie on the toilet, my nigga. I was like, oh, God. I'm sitting in the shower, get up 4 times a night, cold sweats, coughing 10 fucking 12 hours. Grandma couldn't have taken that. That's tough on older people, you know? So I'm telling everybody out there that's watching right now, you know, just be mindful and take care of each other. You know, that's what we need to do. Take care of each other. The old ladies in your neighborhood, you know, real gangsters make sure the people in their neighborhoods is taken care of. You know, all the mafioso niggas, the first shit they did was make sure that their neighborhood was taken care of, right? Anybody who's in a gang, you can't just run up in their neighborhood and cause a problem, can you? They take care of their neighborhood. You can't go up in no blood hood and just start banging on or fucking smash the corner store up. Nah, yeah, whoa. 50 people come out the corner. Whoa, what's this? Man, take care of that. Take care of your neighborhood. Also understand that you gotta have some interaction with these businesses, and they gotta know the people that they're in the community and support. You can no longer use the Black and Latino community as a fucking leech to just get your shit from. All right, you gotta care about us. If you sell food to us, you gotta care about us, man. You gotta give a fuck about us. Remember, your food is sustaining the children that are living right there. All right, like, you know, Do the Right Thing is a great movie. That nigga Sal said, man, look at these kids, man. I don't know why you hate them. These kids grew up on my pizza. Now, mind you, the end of the movie is crazy because it shows you then this is what happens with systemic violence. This is the result. This is what you're going to get. Everything's going to burn down. We're not just going to die. Everyone's going to go. Now, is that the plan, right? Is that what they want? Maybe. So we have to organize against that. Again, remember what those kids said. We're not trying to start a race war. We're trying to end a race war that's been going on for 200 fucking years. And finally, we got young people, and niggas are mad because they're protesting. We tried to protest peacefully. We tried to take a knee. That was not good enough for people, right? So we know that conservatives did not care how you protested. They just wanted to criticize any protest. And that's been their Achilles heel. They don't want to deal with the problem like a fourth-rate lawyer. They want to attack the person talking about the problem, right? You don't want to give single moms money. You want to be in front of abortion clinics screaming, right? Because you don't believe in God. You know, you love yourself. You worship man as God, right? If you was really out there, you'd be doing the work of Jesus. You'd be walking in his footsteps. Oh, by the way, I was raised as a Christian, and I actually read that book. It's a great book, Justin. The guy comes back at the end. It's a beautiful story. But you know what's interesting about Jesus Christ? He was a fucking rioter. That nigga went, imagine if he was alive right now, that nigga would have gone into Chase Bank and flipped that shit over. He flipped over the money changers in the temple. He told people, you know, a rich man could pass through the eye of a needle before he could enter the kingdom of heaven, because you have to let go of all your worldly possessions. They say Christ had 12 apostles, but I read in the Bible that he would have had 13. And then a rich man that was always in Galilee came and followed him. And he said, what can I do to follow you, Jesus? What can I do to follow you? And Jesus said, I'll tell you what, you can be one of my apostles if you sell everything you have and come with me. And that nigga did not sell everything. He couldn't get rid of it, right? He kept his target, right? Where's his fucking target now? Should have rolled with Jesus. You know, you can't talk about Jesus if you're not walking in his footsteps.